Have you ever been introduced to something like really new and it is so cool it blows you away? Whoa, man, this is neat. And then, I don't know, a little bit later, you kind of come down and sober up, if you will, and go, well, it is cool, but why do I need that? Kind of like having a really expensive car, hundreds of thousands of dollars, as opposed to having just a regular old car. And you come to the conclusion that they both get you to the same place. One's just kind of neater to get you there, I guess, something like that. And I'm probably getting off track. What I want to talk about is the tracing features in Adobe Illustrator. You got Paint and you've got Trace. And when I first saw them years ago, they came out in like CS1 or 2, it was kind of like, whoa, man, is this absolutely awesome. I can take like this photograph right here, and that's what we're going to do. And I can convert that thing into actually a vector. Wow, that's pretty cool. Then when I kind of came down from there, I looked at it and said to myself, well, why am I doing that? I mean, what's the purpose of converting it to vector? Now, vectors are resolution independent, but you're still stuck with whatever the image is, even if it is a vector. They are awesomely complex. They can have tens, if not hundreds of thousands of anchor points, but you do have the ability in the conversion process, I suppose, of a photograph to do things like maybe use some Illustrator type effects on it. So there are some advantages. But to be honest with you, in the world we live in today, converting complex photographs into vectors is not really what we do with Trace. We'll talk about actually a better way to use it in the next lesson, but let's look at this one. Now, I am in trace1.ai. It's in your working folder, and this is a photograph of some flowers. They did have things in them that you don't see. There was a fence back here, all kinds of things going on, and basically I did something, and this is really important if you're working in Trace. You want to get rid of stuff you don't want. It's just going to gum up the works in a sense. So I did go into Photoshop. You don't have to, okay? You don't have to. But if you do, it's going to help. So I've got the flower isolated. I spent some time in Photoshop masking it out and getting it exactly the way I wanted it to be. So in a sense, I'm only one click away from doing this. If you select it, I've got the selection tool here. If you select it, you will see up here the word Image Trace. Now, if you're using earlier versions, it might say Live Trace, and it has gotten better in every version. I did something very similar to this in the class I did for Infinite Skills on Illustrator. I think it was like CS5. And what I did is I kind of compared that video in terms of what Illustrator did to what this one's doing, and it's just a whole lot better. It's really cool. But if you select it, you should see Image Trace right here. Now, you can get it under the word Object, too, and go into Image Trace Make here. Let's just use the button because it will be there. Go ahead and click it. Now, the default that it does is kind of like a sketch, black and white. That's kind of interesting in and of itself, but that's not what I want. I want it more like a photograph. So if you come over here, you have a button for presets. We're on the default preset. If you click here, that little button, you can see some of the other defaults, and I'll show you how to make your own. For example, we have 6 colors. Now, that's not too bad. It's kind of cool. Looks like a piece of clip art. Let's do this. Let's go into shades of gray. Now, it does take a little bit of time for it to do its thing. That's not too bad. Now, let's do this. We are right now still working as a tracing object. In other words, it technically isn't vector yet. It functions and works as vector, but we can't control it with things like pen tools or do things to it. It's still in a world between the raster and the vector. So we can still come up here and we can try different things. And I'll talk about up here, we do have a tracing panel, and we'll talk more about this later, where we can control the exact image itself. Up here, you've got the view of the tracing result. Now, if I click here, you can see the tracing result with the outlines that make it up. Look at all that stuff. If I click here, you can see just the outlines. And if we come here, we've got outlines with the source image. Or if you want to go back to the source and look at that, you can. Let's go back into tracing result. I'm ready to work on this image as a vector. So I have to do one more thing. But when I do that, it is then a vector, and I lose this kind of micromanaging control that tracing does. Click Expand right here. That's it. It's now a vector. Now, one other thing. I don't want this white. But since this is a vector, these are all individual pieces. But this right now actually is grouped together. So let's do this. go to Object and select Ungroup. Now, you may have to do it twice to get rid of everything. Now, if I pick up, say, for example, my selection tool, and I get into this area right here, you'll notice if I delete it, I'm deleting just that white area. And incidentally, that background is separate. That's in this layer here. Let me go ahead and lock that like that so we don't accidentally get into it. Now, you will notice if I come over here, we're dealing with something that's vector, which to me is absolutely amazing when you think about it. Now, it's complicated. Why am I doing this? Well, in this case, I'm not sure exactly why I'm doing it, because I think I could do everything I wanted to as a raster. But let me undo those two things. Tell you what, let's regroup it. Let me go ahead and select it all. And let's put that together again before I get into trouble and move something I shouldn't. Let's just do something for fun here. Let me move this a little bit more over here and hold the Alt key. That's the Option key on a Mac. Alt in Windows, make copy. So we got two of them. Select this one. Go up to the word Window and go down to your Pathfinder panel. Love those things. And click the first one, which is Unite. Put it all together. Now, as you can see, it put it all together like one big piece, like a shadow or something. We don't need this anymore. Let's click that little X and close it. Change the color of this one to something else. Choose a color. Now, let's put these two back together again so they're right on top of each other. And I'm going to basically select them both. Go into the Align button right here. Makes it easy to get to. Left, right, up, and down, here and here. And they should be exactly, precisely on top of each other. Now, in the top one, which is now a vector, go ahead and select it. And go over to our transparency where we have our blending modes and change that to overlay. Overlay is one that will overlay the colors in a sense. So now you have something like that. The truth about that is, though, I could do this without ever doing a conversion into vector. Vector, actually for photography, does in a sense have a limited use, to be honest with you. But it is the future, probably, according to most people, of what photography is going to become. And someday you will have a camera, a digital camera, that shoots vector images. Now think about that for a minute. We're at the beginning stages of this transformation, if it ever happens. But once you do that, you have resolution-independent photography. And the word pixels and resolution will be taken out of our dictionary even when we work in programs like Adobe Photoshop. That's pretty interesting. Let's go ahead and close this one out. And in the next lesson, I'm going to give you, I think, a better reason to use the tracing options.